discovery. I don't know a lot about it, but I know that it came on that boat with that person. Yeah, we're not actually going to give him a name. It doesn't, we're gonna, when we say that boat and that person, we know we're talking about we're going to talk about what came on that boat. And so I've become aware over the last 2 weeks that there was a doctrine of discovery. And in this doctrine of discovery, it goes way back to around the 14th century from some papal bulls. Now, we know when we use bulls, laws. Now, these papal bulls or laws were, um, were written up in the. Hey, shall I get someone else to come and talk about this, eh? I'll get someone who actually has written a book about, has written something about it. Yes, I'm just introducing our next speaker.
Tēnā tātou katoa ko tīna ngata tōku inga he uri no Ngāti Porou no reira ko hikurangi te maunga ko Waipu te awa ko Ngāti Porou TV. Tēnā tātou katoa. Just do my first smile for the police camera. So, yeah, 1769, we can just call him the C word, arrived here. And it's not so much what the C word did. Well, we're going to talk about what he did. But he wasn't actually that exceptional. And what happened here, even though it's a great amount of mamai for us, a huge amount of mamai for us, and it incepted an experience of colonization that has wrought devastation on our people, and everything that it has resulted in qualifies as a form of genocide, drawn out genocide. And if that C word were to arrive here today and carry out the things that C word did back in 1769, if he was to do that today, that would be viewed under international law as an act of war, an act of invasion. And so that's pretty much what happened to us here. But also it's important to remember that it was not exceptional. It was not exceptional to Tūranga. It happened on both sides out here, and it happened out there again. And it wasn't exceptional to Ika Maui. It happened a few days later again down in Te Matawa Maui. It happened further along, up along the coast. It happened just outside of Whakaari. It happened at Te Whangāhei. It happened up in Taitokero, and they came around. It also happened in Tōtaranui. And then it went over to Australia, and it happened in Australia. And then they went back, and then they came for another few journeys, and it happened again. But in his time here, that C word barely went a week without shooting at or murdering or torturing our people. So the questions arise around what gives somebody the right? Where do you think you get the right to go somewhere and claim their lands and do those things to those people? What is the intention? Because the kōrero that's been put out by 250, Tuia 250, is more along the lines of he just happened to arrive here, was really on a scientific expedition, happened to arrive here, accidentally shot someone, and oops, we're colonized. And there's no connection between those things. That the intention for us to be colonized, to undergo this long, slow process of genocide, to actually erase us and remove us from our lands, or make our existence be conditional upon being non-Māori, by wiping out our language, by wiping out our ways of being, by wiping out our religions, by wiping out our communities and our whānau, so that if we survived, we have to survive as colonialists, which is also a form of genocide. That intention was set back in 1453 with the first of these papal laws called Dum Diversus. And in those papal laws, which the Vatican issued, the Pope gave the kings and queens, well, at that time it was the King Alfonso of Portugal, but it was then extended out to the kings and queens of Britain and Europe, rights, certain rights and duties. And at that time, it was the right and duty to move into North Africa and to, the words are very clear, vanquish, chase down, and commit to perpetual slavery the peoples of North Africa and West Africa. It told them that they had rights to take their kingdoms, their possessions, their resources, and dispossess them and use those things and the bodies of the people of that land for their profit. So profit was always the driver of this, even back in 1453. And so that was Dum Diversis, and it eventually, that wound up driving the transatlantic slave trade, which eventually displaced 13 million people. That is the first of the papal laws that has brought that C word here. That's the first of the laws that gave him the right to come here to do this in his mind, and the mind of the people that sent him. The next one that came after that was called Romanus Pontifex, and that extended those rights out to the whole new world. So from there we saw the likes of Columbus, of Pizarro, of Magellan, of Cabot, of Cortez, all of them being sent out on their journeys to dispossess, to vanquish, to take their resources, to commit them to perpetual servitude. And so what we saw happening there was a special kind of brutality as those things were enacted out on Turtle Island, on South America, and it was Cook's journey as well was a part of that. And Inter Cetera, which came not long after that, made it very clear that this was a doctrine of Christian discovery, and it would be enacted against anybody who wasn't Christian. Anybody who wasn't white and Christian under these papal laws, including, in particularly, they use the words the Saracens and the pagans. The pagans being anybody who isn't Christian, the Saracens literally being the Muslim faith, that you could chase them down, vanquish them, kill them if need be. And this is where they believed that they had their rights and entitlements to our bodies. Another important aspect of this story to remember is in 1550, a monk who had been observing Columbus's atrocities, which included the murders of babies, of children, of mothers, of pregnant mothers, and of young men, and of elders. Nobody was spared, in the millions. And he came back to Spain, and he was there to fight for the rights of indigenous peoples. But this is very interesting. These debates were called the debates of Valladolid. And in those debates, there was a man called Juan de Sepulveda. And here were the parameters of the debates. This side was Juan de Sepulveda. And he was saying, the debates were around, are indigenous people human? That was the question, are they human? Juan de Sepulveda said, well, no, they're not human. They're like monkeys are to humans. And Bartolome de las Casas, who had witnessed all of these atrocities, felt it in his heart to defend us and said, well, no, they are human, but they're lesser humans. They're like children or women. And so the idea that we needed a parent state, that we needed a government to look over us, that we were savage families, savage parents, that we were not worthy of self-determination or couldn't be trusted with self-determination, were enshrined in these bulls and these events in the 15th and 16th centuries. And they were never rescinded. The Vatican and the monarchies never rescinded these bulls. They wound up becoming the basis of international law. That debate, the debates of Valladolid, wound up becoming the basis of international treaty law. And it was defined within these parameters. of whether or not we're not human at all or whether or not we're lesser humans.